Joining us now is Kirk Burkhalter, retired NYPD detective and New York Law School professor. Thank you, sir, for your generous time this morning. Tell me where you were on that day and what you remember.
So, that day was much like today. I'm still in New York, and the sky was just crystal clear. It was a beautiful day. And I was assigned to the intelligence division at that time. And I was in my office with one other colleague, and we always had the news on while we were in the office. And the news reported that a plane had hit the tower. And like everyone else in the world, we thought it was an accident. And we had a detective stationed at the airport. I immediately called him and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And I'll never forget the words. He was kind of whispering on the phone because there was a lot going on around him. And he said, "Hey, this was not an accident, and there are more planes in the air. I'll get back to you guys." And that changed the course, the remainder of my career. I was focused solely on counterterrorism investigations. And needless to say, it changed the course of every American's life. I'll never forget those words. And the gentleman I was working with at the time, we proceeded down to the site, but we couldn't get there because of all the chaos, and the second plane hit. And I remember looking up and seeing no air traffic, which is amazingly uncommon for New York, but seeing fighter planes orbiting around the sky. In particular, this area downtown, I've been coming to this area all my life. This is where all the clubs were. I went to school here. I teach here now. And it was very surreal standing in this area where I spent some time for several days. It looked like a battle zone. I certainly have never been in the military, but it looked like pictures you see overseas of a bombed out country. And I remember thinking, I don't know how Tribeca will ever recover from this. And certainly it did, like a phoenix rising from the ashes. And so did this country. So those are my memories, to answer your question in a little long-winded fashion, of September 11, 2001.
I'll take all the time you need. It gave me chills to hear you recount those moments, and especially talking to your friend who told you that this was no accident, that there are more planes. The heroes that rushed into the darkness, Kirk, without hesitation to save others, and the way that we appreciate law enforcement changed on that day as well, particularly in New York City. Talk a bit about that and your own personal interactions being part of the men and women in blue.
Well, there's an old adage, how do you recognize a cop, a police officer? Well, when there's danger, everyone else is running away from the danger. The person running towards the danger is the police officer. And that's what you saw with the first responders there. Many of them ran into danger and lost their lives. There was a gentleman my brother knew, I believe, who was at police headquarters at the moment, at what's known as the pension section and preparing for retirement. And this occurred, and he ran to the site, and he subsequently lost his life. But what should not be lost is I remember being at the site and being with first responders, but also being with New Yorkers, right? I would turn to someone and they would just, whatever, worked at a drugstore, worked wherever. So everyone came together. And to be quite honest, and not minimizing what the police officers, firefighters, and other first responders did by any means, but many New Yorkers were first responders that day, whether or not they did so in an official capacity or on their own. And that's one of the great things. There are many things that tend to divide us, but incidents like this, there was no divide. No one looked at each other and asked what your religion was or your political affiliation or whatever the case. It was solely, how can I help you? And I think that's one of the very positive things about this country. And we always move forward after tragedies and after hardships. And if we learn anything from looking back 24 years ago, I look at this neighborhood and it's come back better than it was. And this country has come back. And whatever's going on today, we will come back. So we have to keep faith that this country, through its spirit and through the people, will keep moving forward for the better.
Yeah, so well said. There's so much more good in the world than there is evil, and instinct and courage kicks in when it needs to, and it did on that day, and it will again. Kirk Burkhalter, thank you so much.